Why did Lord Vader never make a holocron? Greetings again, curious acolytes, and welcome back to the archives. Holocrons are the bread and butter of the Sith legacy. Throughout history, all types of Force users have passed down holocron technology throughout all generations of their respected orders. The Jedi do so for the sake of future members. The Sith do so as a way to cement their greatness into the annals of history. More often than not, it's assumed that holocrons contain the knowledge and power as well as the secrets of their creator. While this is largely true, there have been many Sith who have decided to make a holocron for the sole purpose of passing on their specific teachings, their perspectives, and their ideology. So one technically doesn't need to have a game-changing secret in order to have a reason to craft one's legacy into an item. But despite Lord Vader having both power and knowledge, as well as a ruthless ideology, he never created a holocron of his own in order to succeed him. So why this rebellion of the way of the Sith Lords? And why in fact did he not make one for himself? What holocrons did Vader have if he didn't make one that was personal to him? What did he find valuable? Well, stick with us again as we dive deeply into the psyche of Lord Vader in order to uncover the truth. We have developed 4 answers as to why Vader never made a holocron. The first of those is that he may have just simply not known how to do so. The knowledge on how to create these stores of power are difficult to come by. It wasn't as easy as just studying a holocron and then replicating the technology. Each one was unique to the creator. One had to follow very specific steps in order to make it successfully. It was an extensive, exhausting, and a time-consuming process. However, it's not as though Vader and Palpatine did not have the know-how to create holocrons. It's likely that Vader never took an interest in pursuing that knowledge, since Vader kept so busy with Imperial business. He couldn't simply take a few months off so that he could concern himself with the minutiae of making one. Meditation was never Vader's forte to begin with, and he got anxious when he wasn't actively doing military work for the Empire, especially for long periods of time. The prospect of the dedication that making a holocron requires may have deterred Vader's interest for most of his life, so he never bothered to learn exactly how to do it. The flip side of this is that Sidious never made a holocron of his own either. He had next to no interest in passing down his knowledge to future Sith, but instead wrote a manifesto-style book known as the Dark Side Compendium. Palpatine did, however, make an entry in the Telos holocron, which was a communal Sith holocron passed down and shared by multiple Dark Lords. But since Sidious never created a personal holocron of his own, he didn't encourage his apprentice to do it either. So there is a possibility that it just never occurred to Vader that it was something that was worthwhile or something that he should ever do. The next reason is that Vader wasn't so much of a scholar to begin with, and so he didn't study a lot of holocrons personally. Despite how often Palpatine tried to give Vader homework, the apprentice very rarely subjected himself to the studies of the dark side. One of Vader's bad habits that he carried over from his Jedi ways was that he cared little to nothing about learning histories or lore unless it benefited him for a specific purpose. Of course, in doing this, we believe that he limited himself from finding lots of knowledge that could have changed his life. Both Anakin and Vader preferred to learn through experience and believed that to be the best teacher. And because he wasn't so much of a studious person, it is for that reason that he didn't feel an inclination to pass on his teachings in any way. The only apprentice Vader really ever cared about, and training for that matter, was Starkiller. And even then, Vader wasn't interested in training a real apprentice or a successor. Vader only wanted a weapon. This moves us neatly to the next point, which is that Vader didn't care about the future of the Sith Order. From what we read, Vader likely believed that he and his master would be the way to reign supreme forever, or he would find a way to overthrow Sidious and achieve a new state of being. The idea that the two of them would be followed by a new generation of Dark Lords was the furthest thing from Vader's mind. In fact, the only Sith-like underling he knew were the Inquisitors in canon, which he saw as weak and unworthy of any true Sith knowledge, or even the Emperor's hands in Legends, whom Vader saw as rivals trying to take his job. There's no way that during any point in his life Vader would allow his knowledge to be easily accessible, to the point where someone, being an up-and-coming servant of the Emperor, could take it and use it to their advantage. This was Vader's worst nightmare. And while we have found sources that state that Vader may have kept a personal written journal, it only contained his daily thoughts and feelings, rather than important discoveries or any sort of musing about his own personal ideology. The final reason that we figured is that it is a character study of one of Vader's biggest personal flaws. He doesn't give much regard to the future. He seems to almost purposefully ignore Palpatine's counsel regarding how to make himself stronger. Palpatine instructs him not just to release his anger whenever it comes to him, killing whoever is around at a moment. Rather, that he should keep his anger selfishly bottled up, so the point that it swells within him like a storm. And then, when the moment is right, unleash the corked fury when they has the time to mature and refine into something truly dangerous. However, Vader continues to just kill whoever he pleases and lets his rage go to waste, according to his master. In another instance, Palpatine gives Vader the war journal of Darth Malgus, hoping that his apprentice would gain some inspiration of how they elegantly utilized the dark side of the Force, and how Malgus was an instrument of destruction and refinement on the battlefield before even Vader. There was quite a bit of subtext to Malgus's journal talking about a Sith Lord's place in war, and the ways that the dark side can augment yourself for the way of battle. But this was again a failure. Vader only annotated the parts about the ships, the droids, and the battle tactics, rather than pay attention to any dark side teachings or ideology. In the same way, Vader is a consumer who only thinks of his own personal interests, what benefits him in the immediate. Vader doesn't think ahead towards the future, and what benefits him now is gaining bits of other people's knowledge rather than producing any of his own. But what's interesting is that while Vader wasn't very studious, he did keep a holocron in his home in the Bass Castle on the world of Vajun, but it was an ancient Jedi holocron. It had been crafted sometime following the death of Exar Kun in 3996 BBY. It was made by a female Jedi Master. Her name is Astley Crimson. She had taught young Jedi for over 200 years before making the holocron of her own and keeping it stored on the Exis station. This was an ancient Jedi space station that served as a library. When the Order abandoned the station though, they brought the holocron to the temple where it was then recovered after Order 66. Dooku, a council member Yarael Poof, also added their own lesson inside of the holocron whenever it was recorded, and Darth Vader seems to have a strange and a mysterious relationship with this specific Jedi holocron. At one point prior to the Clone Wars, a Jedi Padawan by the name of Jax Paven was studying the holocron when he encountered Anakin, who then saw him using it. After Order 66, Vader targeted Jax, hunted him down like a dog through the underbellies of Coruscant, and after obtaining this item, Vader kept it locked away in his own secret vault on Bast, next to Obi-Wan Kenobi's lightsaber. None of Vader's personal records mention the holocron whatsoever, leaving it a secret to him alone. It's likely that not even Palpatine knew that he had this holocron. But what exactly is in it? The contents of the holocron don't do anything to clear up the mystery of why Vader secretly was obsessed with it either. It contained knowledge from this Jedi Master, training very young Force-sensitive children. Within it was mostly basic lessons, meditation techniques, but also she teaches more advanced Force techniques, such as Malacia, a lesser-known ability of inducing nausea and dizziness in an opponent by turning their equilibrium against them. It also contained an insightful lecture from Yarael Poof. His lecture was on mind tricks, and a small anecdote from Dooku on when he learned to perfect telekinesis. However, it is Master Crisman who also speaks of the Great Sith War with Exar Kun, and the crafter of the holocron makes mention of one Darth Endedu. This is actually huge, as the Jedi had made a very purposeful effort to scrub all mentions of Endedu from every single piece of data that they could find. Darth Bane had to jump through insane hoops to simply obtain a tiny scroll with a select few mentions of Endedu from the world of Prakat directly. But here was one of the last Jedi sources that actually speaks of the immortal God King Sith. But again, this only gives us more questions rather than answers. Why did Vader keep this a secret? Crimsman's Jedi holocron and Kenobi's lightsaber would be discovered again in the year 22 ABY by several students of Luke Skywalker's new Jedi Praxium, students who visited Vader's castle. They would use the useful lessons inside the holocron to help teach the next generation of Jedi students, but they were never given the answer to the burning questions of why Darth Vader kept the holocron. And we at the archives today, in a rare instance, don't have the answers either. But anyway, my friends, this is why we think Darth Vader never made a holocron of his own. We definitely want your insights on this. Which of the reasons do you find to be the most plausible? But of course, we also want to know what you think is within this mysterious Jedi holocron. Why was it so important to Anakin? Why did Darth Vader hunt down the Jedi that had the possession of it? And why did Vader seemingly care so deeply for it? As always, my friends, thank you so much for visiting our own archives here today. And as always, may the Force be with you.